Say Rata, you coward. And then he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that.
He said, no ma'am. Let's get Bale Antilles.
Yeah, what's he up to? Who is that guy?
I feel like every Antilles we've met has been pretty solid.
That's true. Name a bad Antilles. You can't do it. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Last Week in Star Wars. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And I think we should just dive into the biggest news story of the week. Maybe the biggest news story ever in Star Wars.
The year?
I think ever. It turns out, this actually happened, I guess, last week when Beyond Victory came out, but we didn't find out until more recently. I already did a video on it. But in Star Wars canon now, there exists Space Wars Explained.
Amazing.
So
it's us.
Kind of in Star Wars. We don't know who runs Space Wars Explained. We don't know.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, other than just it's a couple of shills for sure.
Definitely.
Space Wars shills. We do not know much about Space Wars Explained. We know a little more about Space Wars, and it did occur to me, this is something I didn't put in the video, I thought about it afterwards, but in Legends at least, Baron Papanoida was said to have been like a hollow producer. Like he was basically George Lucas but blue.
Sure.
So maybe Papanoida is in charge of the Space Wars franchise.
Interesting. I like
throwing
that
out there.
Yeah. This is really, really fun. It's like a tiny little Easter egg in a VR game. It's nothing big, but it kind of opens the door. And this is going to be so annoying from us going forward because we're going to be like looking for it to pop back up again. This means potentially we could see Space Wars Explained again.
I don't know how I would want that to... Like, I love how out of the way this is, that it's... you have to be able to read Arabesh to even find it, and it's not like it's front and center. You do have to go seek it out in the game. I like that it's out of the way, so I would never want anything like that to be front and center in your face. But yeah, if there were just something else in the background where we continue to follow like the Space Wars franchise, I'd be very happy with that.
I think it would be incredible if there were just like a shot like way in the background of a video playing on some screen and it's the two of us talking about Space Wars, or like building a Star Wars version of Lego or something.
I'm imagining like a Rhodian but still has my haircut. Like it's just our haircuts, but we're Rhodians or something.
You've got the Lobot headpiece on.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That tracks. Jokes aside, we have been talking about doing like an April Fool's Day video where we just do a Space Wars Explained video. Basically do this, but in the Star Wars universe.
100%. And it's going to be like, we're already thinking about it, so we've got plenty of time to plan something silly.
That's what I think we could get more mileage out of, is just keeping an eye out for more Space Wars posters or whatever, because they've popped up in Star Wars Rebels. That was the first one we saw. And now I think we're getting the sequel in Beyond Victory, and it looks a little bit like Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So maybe they could just continue on with more Space Wars stuff, and then we could do a Space Wars Explained video every time we see a new poster or something. Yeah. It's very exciting, very silly. But thank you to the team behind Beyond Victory, and thank you to Steven Zavala, who reached out and did say, like, yes, it is meant to be a nod to us, and there's a nod to Wikipedia as well, who they also absolutely deserve it. I
did post about this on socials with the intent of, I was like, maybe someone will reach out and actually confirm that this was a nod to us, because for a while I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to jump the gun.
Stretch.
But moving into actual Star Wars news, not Space Wars. We're going back
we have to clarify that now.
The main franchise. We're talking about Star Wars now. Mia Goth was featured in Elle magazine, where she talked about Starfighter a bit, and she called it one of the greatest experiences I've ever had making a movie. It's really intense, but I love it. I'm being pushed in a way that I've never been pushed before. This is a completely separate film, not a prequel. It's its own thing with new characters, and it's a great script, a really great script.
The quote about her being pushed in a way that she's never been pushed before really made me perk up because I was like, man, she's done some really intense parts in a lot of movies. But I think that probably means more like she's never done a big franchise movie like this before.
Yeah. It's interesting because she has carried a franchise, the Maxine, Pearl, X, like all those movies are all Mia Goth, and sometimes she's in the movie twice.
Yeah. I guess I should say like big, like sci-fi fantasy, lots of CGI.
Oh yeah,
kind of franchise.
I was going to agree with you that like the Maxine movies are much smaller scale, and they have a fandom, but not on this level. So I could see that pressure being a lot different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to know what is pushing her in different ways, because she has played kind of villainous roles before.
But like complicated ones.
Yeah.
Ones that you might even root for.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
I'm psyched to have... I'm always excited to see more women in roles for villains in films, and so I'm really excited to have another woman in Star Wars playing a villain.
I'm also glad to see that she's saying it's one of the best times she's had on film. And like, you know, I always take this stuff with a grain of salt. It's not like someone's going to go out and be like, I am miserable making this.
Yeah.
Like, but it's good to hear people saying, I'm having fun making a movie, because I feel like that always comes through when I watch like Edgar Wright's movies, Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz. They just look like the people making them are having so much fun diving through the air, shooting two guns at the same time.
Yeah.
Like they're living out fantasies. So I hope that's the vibe she's getting. We also got to hear a bit from Jeremy Allen White about The Mandalorian and Grogu. He popped up on Good Morning America to promote his film, and of course they asked him about Mando and Grogu, and they did confirm that he would be playing Jabba the Hutt's son, which part of me is like, say Rada, you coward. But also, no one knows who Rada is outside of...
Does he even know his own character's name?
I'm sure he does, but like the interviewers, I bet, didn't. Like, I'm sure Lucasfilm or whoever was like, here, just say this. And they're like, Jabba the Hutt's son. He didn't really go into a whole lot of detail about it, just kind of meeting Jon Favreau and geeking out about film. And Jon was like, hey, do you want to just do a voice part?
Yeah.
And then like he showed up and he's like, oh, I'm playing Jabba the Hutt's son?
Well, he did talk about like knowing the weight of a character like that, so that was fun to hear. But yeah, it sounds like he just kind of went in and did like voiceover lines and said that, you know, maybe that he would come in for more or to change something, but I don't know if he ever like visited the set or anything.
I wasn't expecting him to, but now I am imagining him like in motion capture with like a big gray tail with spots on it, like for motion tracking, and him walking around on set like that.
This makes me think that he's not in it very much at all. Maybe a very, very little part.
I think that's probably... I mean, even Sigourney Weaver was just on Happy, Sad, Confused and said she was only on set for a couple days. I mean, some of these parts, like, you can just get through them fast. But yeah, I'm not expecting Rada to be third build.
Yeah.
But yeah, he mentioned getting ready to record a few more lines, said he saw Pedro, and Pedro was also going to record a few more lines. So they're still working on the movie, still plugging away.
Good to hear.
It sounds like we might actually get a Star Wars movie in May.
I'm excited to hear more about what it's about.
Yeah, me too. Right now it's just like, yeah, it's Mando and Grogu kicking ass and taking names and swimming and playing with Anzellans.
Sure. And, you know, you don't really need a whole lot more explanation than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you watch the show, you know basically what to expect.
I did also like that he was talking about, you know, how excited he would be to take his kids to go see it.
That's true. And for our last bit of news, this is some sadder news, but we did want to just highlight and celebrate Drew Struzan for a little bit since he passed away this past week. He really did shape how I saw Star Wars growing up in the 90s, because obviously he did a lot of posters for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, but he also did so many book covers. And I was reading all those Star Wars books growing up in the mid 90s. So more often than not, I feel like it was Drew Struzan who drew that cover on Shadows of the Empire or The Crystal Star.
I mean, he was an incredible artist, and when you think of movie posters, you think of his posters, right? And like they're very stylized. They're like hand painted, aren't they? There were so many movie posters that he did that I didn't realize were his work, and I should have, but you know, looking back at his body of work is just, it's mind-blowing.
And yeah, there's plenty that you forget about. I mean, like we were looking through and being like, oh yeah, Hocus Pocus. But then even on this cover, I was like, yeah, he did some stuff for The Walking Dead, and he did Hellboy, and he did all kinds of movies. But I also wanted to just highlight all the book covers he did, because yeah, you think of Drew Struzan and posters first, but also he was just so connected with Star Wars on so many levels.
Yeah.
And I loved his book covers, the Han Solo trilogy and the Thrawn duology. Like, I'm just going through all of them now.
George Lucas really lucked out. He got Drew Struzan and John Williams to help him create this whole universe of Star Wars, and like they both knocked it out of the park every time.
Fall is here, and with it comes cooler nights, heartier meals, and the craving for something warm and satisfying. That's where HelloFresh comes in, bringing you comforting, chef-designed recipes and fresh, seasonal ingredients right to your door. This season, they've taken things to the next level with their biggest menu refresh yet. Say hello to a whole new way to do dinner. HelloFresh has doubled its menu. Now you can choose from 100 options each week, including new seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world. Dig into bigger portions that'll keep everyone satisfied. Feel great with an even healthier menu filled with high-protein and veggie-packed recipes. HelloFresh now helps you eat greener with new veggie-packed recipes that have 2 or more veggies. There's also 3 times more seafood on the menu now at no extra cost. Discover new seasonal produce each week, from snap peas to stone fruit to corn on the cob and more. Molly and I have tried HelloFresh, and having a meal subscription box has been fantastic for our schedule. The ability to choose meals and have them delivered to our door has saved us time, money, and mental energy. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/Star Wars 10 FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/Star Wars 10 FM to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life.
But moving into last week in canon, we're actually going to jump back 2 weeks and talk about Jaws of Jakku first, because that had just come out when we were recording last time. And there are some fun things I want to highlight about this. This was an audio drama written by Cavan Scott, and it was kind of someone else telling a story about Rey coming to Jakku to kind of confront her past, get over her past.
It's a young girl telling this story?
Yeah, I can't remember if they got specifically into her age, but I would like a teenager. It was very middle grade, young adult, I would say, in its tone and in its humor. It was a fun time, but the thing that jumped out at me the most is that this younger girl talks about a storybook character named Don Juan Quixote, and that's obviously a reference to Don Quixote, and this is a character who, in Star Wars, thinks he's a Jedi, but he's not. That character is from, like, issue 8 or something of the old classic Marvel Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
It's the same arc that introduced Jackson, who Cavan Scott also loves. And so I was, like, howling when I heard a Don Juan Quixote reference, because I was like, Cavan, you've done it again.
You did it.
He's just like working his way through that whole cast. That arc is basically like Han Solo putting together a 7 samurai style team to fight off the Cloud Riders, the inspiration for Enfys Nest and her gang.
Oh, cool.
It's a gang called the Cloud Riders who don't really share anything else with them. They don't look nearly as cool. He puts together this motley crew of like a green rabbit and a woman in a bikini and this guy that does look like Don Quixote, but he thinks he's a Jedi.
So in this audio drama, Don Juan Quixote is like a storybook character in the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
So this sounds like a job for Space Wars Explained.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's another like in-universe story.
I'm just saying we need to know what Space Wars Explained's review for this story is.
Yeah, but I think that this is like the perfect way to bring a character like that in. Like a silly character from the early days of Star Wars and just be like, he exists in Star Wars, but as an in-universe legend, an in-universe story, which makes sense, like, that in Star Wars people would tell stories about a guy who thinks he's a Jedi, but he's not.
Sure.
So I just thought that was so much fun. There were also a lot of fun references to other canon things, like the deleted scene where Unkar Plutt gets his arm ripped off by Chewie.
Oh.
So that's firmly canon, which I think was mentioned in the novelization too, but still fun to see that pop up.
When does that happen?
On Takodana. Unkar Plutt shows up, like, chases them down and puts his hand on Rey, and Chewie just rips his arm off.
Oof.
It's a pretty fun scene, actually. But Cavan also wrote in references to, like, Forces of Destiny and wrote about a character from his Adventures in Wild Space books. So a lot of fun little connective bits. But the thing I really wanted to highlight is there's a scene where Finn is kind of helping Rey get over some stuff and helps teach her. Mm-hmm. And, like, they kind of, this is before he knows, I guess for sure, he's Force sensitive. Rey kind of looks at him in this very, like, impressed way, and they kind of joke. He kind of, like, jokingly calls her a Padawan, and she, like, jokes about being a Jedi Master and stuff. Aww. But, like, that he'd make a good teacher.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know, still crossing my fingers and holding out hope that these references and stuff about Finn are going to build to something more.
Yeah, and it's really nice because, you know, we see Rey teaching Finn a lot throughout that whole trilogy, and it's nice to know that it works both ways.
Yeah, it makes me think of Yoda in the Clone Wars talks all the time about, you know, Jedi Knights take on Padawans so that they learn from the Padawan. Mm-hmm. They teach each other, and they help each other grow. And so that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing. But this past week, we got Legacy of Vader issue 9. This one you have read, so we can discuss it. This is about Tavarin. She confronts Kylo, tries to kill him. They fight a little bit.
Flirts with him.
And then they start flirting. They share a meal together.
They kiss.
Then she kisses him. And then he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that.
He said, "No, ma'am."
I'm taken. So then he sends his death squads after her, and she has to escape the ship. She does. She gets back in the Night Buzzard and escapes. And Kylo even lets her. Like, they have a chance to shoot her down. And Hux is like, "What are you doing?" And he just lets her go.
I wonder if that's showing more so that he still cares about the Knights of Ren, or if it's about her.
I'm not sure yet. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised that this wasn't all resolved in 2 issues, because that's how the series has been going. So I was surprised that she wasn't just killed immediately. That's kind of what I was expecting. They would fight for an issue, he would kill her, and then we'd move on. So the fact that she got away makes me think that there's more to see with her and the other knights.
Yeah, I liked this issue. I liked the tension between the two of them, and I liked how much she was kind of egging him on. But I also really loved that after they fought, she was like, "Do you have anything to eat? Like, I'm hungry, let's eat." You don't see that very often in Star Wars stories, and it's because it's like such a normal thing to do, but I always like when that kind of stuff happens.
It reminds me of seeing, like, the big feast in Book of Boba Fett. He's got all that food. Yeah, it's, like, so rare that we see a big smorgasbord of food. Even Anakin and Padme just, like, eat a pear together.
Yeah. He doesn't even let her finish.
Why are you talking so dirty?
There was another fun panel that I noticed when she was talking about, like, "Oh, I bet you haven't had that much fun in a while," as in, like, when the two of them had fought, and then there's a panel where it shows, like, he's thinking of the time that he and Rey were fighting the Praetorian Guards, and I was like, yeah, nothing tops that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what happens is that he's, like, maybe flirting with the idea, pun intended, until, like, she kisses him, and he's like, "Shut it down."
Yeah, he's like, "Wait a second, you can't get close to my heart."
Yeah. But I do think that she was right about a lot of stuff. Her saying, "I think you miss the chaos of the life of a Knight of Ren.
Yeah.
I think you prefer that to being the supreme leader."
Yeah, she was, like, cracking jokes about his title as supreme leader.
Right. And I think that's true. Like, he just killed Snoke, declared himself supreme leader, probably didn't think any of that through.
Yeah.
He's just lashing out.
I think the next issue is him going to Mustafar.
Yeah,
Vader's
so
castle.
he's going back to Mustafar. Vinay has teased there's something in the depths that
Oh yeah,
he
where's
can
Vinay been?
Yeah, what's Vinay up to? Maybe that's why he turned Tava down. He's like, no, I love Vinay.
Vinay would not approve.
Yeah. What would Vinay think? So we're entering potentially the last 3 issues of this series. We only know of up to 12 issues. And I don't know if it's going to go beyond that. I'm guessing no. Again, a lot of the comics just seem to be up in the air right now as to whether or not they're going to continue or stop or what's happening. I don't know. But moving into last week's questions, we took a couple from our Patreon. And first, Eden Grizz asks if Phase More of the High Republic will give us more adult and young adult novels, or will it just be comics? Because we did just get the Pathfinders comic announced last week.
I hope it does, because I feel like the loose ends that they left in Trials of the Jedi between Aslan and Wreath, I think that story could be big enough for a book.
I fully agree. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, George Mann is writing the Pathfinders comic. I want George Mann to write the Aslan Wreath continuation, because their story in Tears of the Nameless, where it was kind of like a Hannibal Lecter, Clarice Starling kind of deal, where Aslan's locked up and Wreath keeps going to him for advice. I loved that story, and I love their dynamic together. So I agree. I want that to be another novel of some kind. I think that story warrants it.
Yeah. If it is a comic series, that'll be fine, but I think a lot of people will be potentially disappointed if that's all it gets. I don't know.
I don't think that Phase More is going to be relegated to just comics. This is the first Phase More story I feel that we've had announced. Wayseeker and Crystal Crown kind of fit, but they're more tied to the Acolyte and were announced before we had ever heard about Phase More.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking anything beyond now, Pathfinders and forward, that'll be Phase More. And yeah, we've only had one story announced, and I don't think there's any reason to think it'll only be comics.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Gamer Tomo asks who we think would have become Chancellor if Palpatine weren't given emergency powers. If he were just a chill dude who served his 2 terms and then there was an election, do you think Padme could have done it?
Maybe Jar Jar.
I did think about Jar Jar.
Because
what would his campaign look like?
I do wonder if they would look to maybe find someone who is Chancellor in name only, really,
like a puppet chancellor.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But yeah, I mean, if Padme did it, that would be really cool. Or maybe Bail.
I feel like Padme, Bail, Mon all had a shot at that.
Can you imagine what would happen if Mon had become Chancellor? I don't think they would have allowed it, but...
And they could have done something like, Palpatine has Masamita and Sly Moore. Maybe it could have been the triple threat of Mon Mothma is Chancellor, and then Padme and Bail are there to be Chief of Staff and Vice Chancellor, I think he was before Masamita became Grand Vizier. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe Ainley Teams comes in and swoops in a surprise victory.
Oh yeah, who else was... I don't remember the other names, but I think the names that I'm thinking of are like people who were maybe just in talks to be nominated for senators.
Ainley Team and Bail Antilles?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were up against Palpatine for Chancellor.
Oh, okay. Let's get Bail Antilles.
Yeah, what's he up to? Who is that guy?
I feel like every Antilles we've met has been pretty solid.
That's true. Name a bad Antilles. You can't do it.
I mean, and Ainley Team can keep an eye on everybody.
Or 3.
He's got lots of eyes.
It's good. But that's it for last week in Star Wars. Next week, we're going to be covering Jedi Knights issue 8 and Tales from the Nightlands issue 2. So another spooky comic is coming back. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.